So I'm here with Bill Allen and Bart Connor, stars of RAD, and I'm not. I got this. Greg hit me up about this interview a couple hours ago. And he's like, "Do you want to talk to some of the actors from RAD?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do," but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly caught up on what this is. Is this a re-release or what are you guys doing with this?
It is normally around this time of year for the past 4 years at least. We re-release RAD to 700 theaters this year, and it's one screening only. Normally at 7 p.m. at your local theater. You can look that up at amctheaters.com, I believe. And Bart's going to his local theater. I'm going to be at the Americana in Glendale on that Thursday night. But yeah, it's going nationwide, and there's not a lot of movies that get that kind of treatment every year. We're pretty excited.
Yeah, and this is pretty much a cult classic because I remember there was this BMX Bandits, Gleaming in the Cube back in that day. There was all those kind of skateboarding and bicycle movies, and I loved them as a kid. I love them now. But yeah, movies don't usually have these kind of this kind of longevity to it. What's it kind of like being a part of a movie like this? It's like came out, it did what it did, and then decades later, it's still like there's still fans for it.
Well,
Yeah, I think.
go ahead, Bart.
Well, yeah, I think obviously, it was one of those movies that I don't think we possibly could have. Like Bill said, we made the movie, we went on with our lives, and whatever, and then all of a sudden we hear this sort of groundswell, and that's what's made it really impactful to me. It wasn't a top-down promotion; it was the kids who loved their bikes, loved trying cool tricks, rented the VHSs at Blockbuster over and over and over and just connected. And so we kind of got picked up from the community. It wasn't like a big studio just spent a whole bunch of money and slapped this in front of people's faces. They discovered and they sense ownership of this movie, and that's what's brought it back, right, Bill? It's not a top down thing. It all started at the grassroots level. Kids and their bikes, and they love the story of the small town kid beating the big bad guy and winning it all. And I mean, all of those stories resonate typically in any movie, but it's really interesting that this movie, the fact that we're seeing it again after nearly 40 years, is because of the groundswell of support at the base, not because it was pushed upon us by a multi-million dollar promotional budget, right, Bill?
Man, you couldn't have said it better. The promo for this, I think I saw one television commercial pre-release, and the release came and went, and that was it. They didn't try to repackage it. I think we came in and did another shoot for the promo, and then it was done. And so it only took another 6 months, year for it to be released at Blockbuster, and that's when it took hold. And then I remember at a Blockbuster looking at the tote board, top 20 rentals, and RAD was always in the top 20 rentals, always. And it didn't represent one rental; it represented 20 viewings in a weekend, and the 12 kids in the same neighborhood would watch it over and over again. So it kind of had that viral quality before that was a thing. And like Bart said, they took ownership of it because they had to have a pirated copy. You couldn't own this thing, and it was too expensive on VHS. So they literally, and yeah, it had that cachet of, oh, this was my childhood favorite. Me and my buddies had this, and nobody else had this experience. It's like, I hate to tell you, a lot of people had that experience, but it became personal to so many of the fans.
I kind of wonder what other like movies nowadays, if they're even able to kind of pull off the success of a movie like Rad, because the physical media isn't what it once was. I mean, you can find it on streaming, but movies get put up and taken down on streaming all the time. You got a VHS or a DVD or whatever. Once it's there, and people can always find it.
Well, the market's different now, and there's so many choices, right? There is only a couple hundred titles in Blockbuster. I'm sorry, there wasn't that many choices at the end of the day, and cable was now. And so, Bart, I think you'd agree there just weren't that many choices compared to now, and that helped us out a great deal.
And what was it like working with Hal Needham? Because back in the day, I didn't know a Hal Needham movie from anything because I just wasn't that paying attention as a kid. Growing up, realized that he's a pretty damn good director and stunt person. And I think that kind of translates to his movies when you get to watch all these cool bike stunts.
Yeah, that's for sure. That Hal's brand. I mean, he was the ultimate Hollywood badass. You know, he was a stuntman and he was a producer and a director, and he wanted the most outrageous bike track you could ever have. And I think that's one of the things that connected with kids was that it was if it was just a little piddly bike track and kid went around and raced, it wouldn't have had the same impact. But I mean, Hell Track was so iconic that even the best pro riders in the world who were up there at the shoot up in Calgary when we made this in like 1985, I guess it was, they came to Hell Track and they said, "There's no way we're dropping it on that thing that's 30-foot face straight down." And it took a couple of kids with a little guts to climb a ladder and throw a bike in there and do half of it and then 2/3 of it and finally just chuck it from the top. But that's part of the reason I think it made it so compelling to kids. The riding was real, the crashes were real. The guy who face plants out of the cereal bowl, that's real. I mean, and I think that, it was extreme and that, but everything that Hal Needham did was big. And I think that helps made the movie just that much more impactful.
Yeah, a lot of the crashes, especially towards that final race, a lot of the crashes were. I'm watching it going, well, oh, I hope they're okay. But we're working on the set. Like, what were you guys allowed to do, and what were you able to do? Like, I don't know your skill level on a bike, but what were you able to do, and what were you not able to do or not allowed to do when shooting this?
Well, we were both hired as actors, basically, and they had the best stunt doubles for us. And, Bart was injured, frankly. So,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I was just incapable. So we both needed all the help we could get.
What was Bert? What was your injury?
So my background is I'm an Olympic gymnast, and I blew my knee out doing a gymnastics exhibition about a month before we shot the movie Rad. And I called Hal Needham and said, "Hey, I can't be in your movie. I'm in a leg brace, a cast from my hip to my ankle for the next 10 weeks." He goes, "Oh, it's all right. You'll be okay. We'll give you some Percodan. You'll be fine." And that was, the old Hollywood stuntman way was just a handful of pain pills and go for it. Well, my doctor wouldn't let me do anything. So every scene in the movie where you see me from the waist up, it's me. But every scene in the movie where you see me from the waist down, it's likely somebody else. So, yeah, he said, it's Hollywood. We can cheat it. We'll fake it. So, luckily I didn't have to do any of it. But even if I were healthy, I couldn't have done anything like those pros. No chance.
Yeah, I guess that's Hollywood problem solving. Feed them more drugs. Keep shooting.
I'm just saying, we love the guy, and that's how it used to be. I
Well,
did. I did not take a handful of Percodan, by the way. Just
oh,
want you to know.
just a tiny spoonful.
I did.
It's fine.
And you weren't even injured.
That's right.
Oh.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure. Knowing that I was talking to you guys, I was like, well, I guess I got to watch Rad again. Not gotta get to, and it was a pretty fun walk down memory lane. And I appreciate talking to you guys. I guess we'll just end on this. Get a movie recommendation from both of you if I can. Kind of maybe a lesser seen one or a movie that's important to you that you've seen this movie's real good and I wish more people would talk about it.
Man, please, Bart, what have you seen lately? I need some recommendations.
So I loved A Complete Unknown, the story about Bob Dylan. And I thought that was amazing. My son is actually named Dylan because I'm a Dylan fan. So, yeah, I thought that was, and it's not like a movie that hadn't been seen. It was up for an Academy Award, which I wish it would have won. But in any case, I thought that was just one of the best things I've seen in a long time.
Man, I'm such a Dylan fan that I'm like, oh, now I gotta like Timothy Chalamet. Okay, I guess. So I will watch Willy Wonka play Bob Dylan. I'll do it under protest, but everybody seems to love it. All right. The last movie I saw was that animated movie Flow, and now I do need that Percodan because it was really traumatizing, dude. I try to keep my viewing very light, very You know, I don't want to be challenged. I don't want to think too much. I remember hearing Christopher Nolan saying people coming out of Oppenheimer, they were devastated. And I'm like, how much do I have to pay to not be devastated? This is not what I'm looking for, Chris. Anyway, yeah, don't watch Flow. It's depressing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can watch Rad and be happy.
Watch the documentary.
But Bill, Bart, thanks for talking to me today. And yeah, congratulations on all the success decades later on a pretty rad movie. And yeah, you guys have been a joy to talk to.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.